Trevor. Trevor.
Yes, yes. Don,
The
Donald.
beginning is the time for taking
Oh,
the most delicate
Jesus
care that
Christ.
balances our, what? Aren't we supposed to talk about Dune? Isn't this our special Dune episode? This is
Oh
my
my
very old copy of
God.
Dune. Look at this.
Oh
Is
my
this not what we're doing?
God.
This was your idea.
This is what we're doing.
We're talking
I
about
didn't
Dune.
think I didn't think we were going to start out with
Oh,
this.
oh, you meant Dune Part 2, the movie.
That's exactly what I meant. Dune
Oh,
Part
this
2,
this book
the
is my
movie.
favorite book.
I know it is.
Oh,
You
so we
kept a
got.
copy in the bathroom in your old studio.
I did. Oh, I have multiple copies. I've got them in
Yes.
Spanish.
Oh,
I've got
I'm
them
well aware. I'm well
They're all in
aware.
various states.
I've known you for a long time. I'm very well aware.
Oh,
You
so
have
you want to
copies
talk?
of it everywhere.
So you want to talk about the movie, that movie that you didn't like,
I would
and let's.
like to talk about Denis Villeneuve's movie Dune Part 2, which I
Oh,
loved.
okay.
I loved it.
Well, I have some thoughts, as you might
Oh
suspect.
my God, I can't imagine you'd have thoughts on it.
So, how about we talk about it on the show today,
That sounds great.
and then I'll lend you my copy so you can finally read a book.
Fantastic.
Okay, let's get on with the show.
Let's get on with the show. I haven't listened to anything you've said in the last 20 seconds.
Damn it, Trevor.
Oh God, I hate you so much.
Well, it's you. We can cross off the reading.
I watch almost everything, and the majority of it is terrible.
What is this podcast about?
My recorder keeps turning off.
Damn it, Trevor. Hi, everyone, and welcome to this very special episode of No Win Scenario Podcast, where we talk about Dune Part 2. I am Don, and that strange man is waving strangely at me is Trevor. Part 2. That's what that was. Trevor, how are you?
Just shut up and start. Okay, I just want
Well, hold
to
on.
get to the part where you break my heart.
No.
Do
First
it.
of all, I didn't get to see the
Just
movie
do it.
with you because I was busy working, and you couldn't wait a day to see it with me. Couldn't wait one day.
Nope.
12
Nope.
hours.
Nope.
Will you see it with me again? How many times have you seen it?
Absolutely. I've only seen it once,
I would have seen
But
3 or
I'm-
4 times if I were you.
but I'm going again in a few days, and then I'll go again with you. And yeah, I'm very well aware.
So why am I going to break your heart?
Because
Why
you're
do you
gonna
think that?
crap all over it. Listen, hold on. Let me just show everybody
Uh-oh.
what your single response was to the film when you finally saw it. Oh, hold on.
I knew this would trigger you.
I've
See,
got
I
it.
know how to trigger
Dude,
people of all ages.
you made me so mad before you saw the film. I wrote Don a novel
A
before
novel.
he even saw the film about
he did.
how wrong he's going to be. He finally sees the
Dune.
movie.
Dune Part 2.
This
In IMAX, big screen.
you saw it in Limax. You didn't see it in
Yeah,
True
it
IMAX.
wasn't true. Yeah, it was
Yeah,
fake
I,
IMAX.
I saw it in True IMAX. I'm seeing it again in True IMAX.
I needed a reserved seat. I didn't have that kind of time to
Yeah,
get there
no,
3 hours
that-
ahead of time.
Actually, that's very true. I had to get there very, very early. I've got to get there early when I see it again. That part is a pain that our True IMAX screen does not have assigned seats. That sucks.
Yeah,
So Dawn sees it.
I do.
What did you see? An evening show on Sunday or
I did.
or
I saw
matinee?
like a 7:45 p.m. show. Yeah.
Okay.
So 3 hours
I-
later.
At 9:55 p.m., I get this single text. That's it. This is all he says about the movie. This is it. This was his takeaway, folks. It's so pathetic. It's unbelievable. He writes, "Can't believe
Can't believe.
they made Stilgar a clown." That is what he got out of
Every time Stilgar talked, I mean, he's the
That-
one.
That is what he walked away with from that movie.
No,
That
no. Hold on. It's not-
Beautiful, epic.
that's not what I walked away with. I spent
Gorgeously
2 hours
shot
in
by
that
Greg
movie
Fraser.
thinking about what to say to you. I was so distracted by how to respond to you after I got out of that movie that's all I could think about. No, let me tell you something, Trevor. Can I tell you something? I'm going to shock you right now. I'm going to shock you.
No, you're not.
I really, really liked the movie.
No, you didn't.
I thought it was a great movie.
No,
I
you
really
did
did.
not.
I swear to God, I wanted another hour of it. I really loved it.
Okay. so
However,
yes.
However, it was a very, very good movie. A great movie for the masses. Very good movie. It was an interesting adaptation of Dune. I do not think it's the best movie, the best Dune movie that
Of course you don't.
could be made. And
I'm
and
curious,
yes,
Don,
sir.
which is the best Dune movie
Oh,
made so far?
let me tell you this.
Uh,
This, of course, is the best
uh-huh.
Dune movie made so far. However,
Uh-huh.
this one, even though it's campy, even though it's bad, this one made me appreciate how much was in the David Lynch movie that they did not put in this one. And I can give you some examples if you allow me, sir.
Yeah, please.
And I'm not talking about the crazy voice attacks.
Hmm.
Dune, the
Wait,
book.
oh, hold on,
Yeah,
hold on. I
please.
I literally fell asleep real
Good,
quick.
good.
I'm waking up.
Dune,
I'm waking
this
up.
book
Yes.
in my hand, Dune,
Yeah.
is a magic mushroom fever dream of Frank Herbert,
Yeah, great.
right? It
Hmm.
was. A lot of fun stuff in there, a lot of crazy stuff in there. This Dune Part 2 made me appreciate the David Lynch movie because they tried to put so much more of the book into that movie than this one did. I will give you just one or two examples of things that are not crazy that I felt like were missing. Where was the guild, Trevor? The guild is so important to the book. And so it's
No, no,
and
Don, the guild is important to you.
to me, to the
To
story of the
you.
book, to make the story even stronger
Okay, this
because
is
it was
okay.
not
Finish
clear.
what you're
Let me
saying.
just say, like, again, I love this
That
movie.
film was very clear. That's the brilliance of what Denis Villeneuve did. That thing is very dense, and
And he
it was
adapted it in a very
so
clear,
clear.
for the masses, cinematic, beautiful, great storytelling. What he did new with Chani, I thought
Hmm.
was great. That was so
Hmm.
great. This
Hmm.
book ends saying, even though we're concubines, history will remember us as wives or something. Jessica saying
Hmm.
to Chani. What he did
Hmm.
with Jessica, I thought was really interesting. What he did with Chani was
Hmm.
very interesting, really
Hmm.
good. There's pillars of society. There's the oil barons. There's the transportation with like the whole
Hmm.
colonial allegory part of this of the book in the movies, and taking out spice really, except from the first movie as a hint, as being so vital to space commerce
Hmm.
and Chom. Right?
Hmm.
You didn't read the book though, right?
No, and I never will.
You should. You really should.
No, I won't.
Joking aside,
Yeah.
it's a great book, and
Well, okay, okay.
yeah,
Joking aside,
yeah,
um, listen, we talked about this before with David Mack. I have a I have very good reading skills. I have
yes.
a genuine issue with reading right now. It's very difficult for me, and I've heard that Dune has a very specific kind of prose that is possibly too dense
It's
for
very
me to
dense.
carry.
However, you
Yes,
have the visuals. Like when I was a kid, I started reading the book in third grade or something. It's a
right,
very hard book for a little kid to read. But I
right,
had that movie to help me guide me through the book in terms of the visuals, so I think it would be okay. But even then, I would
right.
try the audiobook because I think you'd find it really interesting how rich the book is. It really is.
Okay.
But
Is
in
there
the
multiple version? I mean, serious question.
yeah,
Is there multiple versions of the audio? Like, because this is again weird. It all depends on the person's voice. If I can get into an audiobook,
that's fair.
is there different versions?
I don't know. I've never listened
Don't
to the
know.
audiobook.
Okay.
Yeah. I've read
Okay.
this book probably 300, 400 times in my life.
I believe
Um,
that.
yeah.
I
But
know
in
you love the book
No, it's been my favorite book my whole life. Yeah, and
and I
I'm glad
think
it's a
that's
popular
great.
hit now. So,
Yes.
again, I can't have a biased opinion,
Well,
an
wait,
unbiased opinion on the movie.
real question.
Yeah.
Hasn't the book always been a hit or no? Was it like
The
not big
book,
when it
not
or
no, when it
did
first,
it build?
it took a while. So I think it was
Yeah.
something like 22 publishers said no to the book, and then
Uh-huh.
like some small publisher originally picked it up that did like
Right.
appliance repair manuals or something. I'm not quite
Oh
sure,
boy.
so don't quote me on that. Thankfully, no one's
Yep.
listening. So it took a long, and then it was a flop when it first came out, and then it built up and built up.
Yeah.
What's so it's a little strange in terms of the writing, but in that book you have you have these pillars like this, like Denny said, like this is a Reverend Mother adaptation of the movie, like that's the
Hmm.
focus. But
Right.
in that you had the Reverend Mothers, you had the guild, like they are changed from the spice to be able to travel through space and ships.
Right.
These are these like monstrous type secretive people, and they're the power behind everything. So the emperor can't be an emperor without the guild, who is the
Right.
transport.
Right.
The emperor can't be the emperor without the great houses, which, at the end, at the great scene where he's like, go liberate them or send them to paradise.
Hmm.
And now the Fremen are great spaceship fighters. That was the one flaw in the whole film, I felt. Like
Right.
they're going to go out into space and fight people
Right.
that which they do sort of in the book, but it's different.
Right.
Um, but having all these pillars of society all be dependent upon spice,
Right.
what's so interesting on the political side of Dune, the novel, that I felt that that was missing. That I would, and it didn't have to be a big add-on, I thought, to the movie for that. So that was
Okay.
kind of sad. You
Okay.
know, you know, again, I love the movie. I just wanted more. Thufir is missing. He was missing in
Hmm.
this one.
Hmm.
Things that are weird in the
Now
book.
I'll ask, who's that?
The Mentat from the first one.
Okay.
The guy with I forgot the actor's name.
Yes,
What's
yes,
that?
yes, yes,
Yeah,
yes. Yep.
he's a human computer. So they do more of that in the book with these are Mentats.
Oh,
So
okay.
the book and the David Lynch movie I thought was
Hmm.
grander in scope. Not better story, but was grander in scope. It felt bigger. Like in the new movie, and then I'll stop talking. In the new movie, the Harkonnen planet was
Hmm.
cool. It was cool with the
Hmm.
infrared. It was a good gimmick. The CGI I thought was terrible. A couple times when the large groups of people, I thought it looked terrible.
Wait. The CGI
The
in
people,
Denis Villeneuve's Dune
yes,
Part 2, you thought was terrible.
in two spots. The
Okay.
the the fighting scene on
Okay.
the Harkonnen planet where the people were chanting and that, they
Okay.
look like it reminded me in what was it, The Rise of Skywalker at the end when you saw the Sith just as like
Oof.
shadows in the background
Yeah.
in the arena,
Yikes.
completely
Yeah.
reminded me of that. They were two just cookie cutter groups
Yeah.
of people doing the same motion over and over again.
Yeah.
And then when Paul's standing on top of the theoretically millions of Fremen fighters,
Oh,
and you
and when
see
he held
them,
up the knife?
yeah, I thought just the
Oh, I
it
thought that
looked
was
too
amazing.
he looked amazing on top,
Yeah.
but less so than the Harkonnen fight scene. It just looked to copy and paste groups of people doing the same stuff,
Okay.
but mostly in the theater. That was the only thing I thought that took me out of it. The worms didn't take me out of it. All that I wanted more fighting at the end. I kind of wanted more.
Yeah.
That whole last bit wrapped up too quickly. But
There's a lot.
there's a lot to talk about.
There's a lot. I don't know if there's less action in this in part two, but I will say this, and this I'm surprised it's as well regarded as it is. I'm not surprised that the critics love it. I'm surprised that the general public loves it
Yeah,
because
should
I
be on
think there is
TikTok. Yeah.
one thing missing from this. I am not complaining. I think it's a better film. I think it works in the first film. I don't think it would work in the second film, but the sense of adventure from the first film completely gone in the second film.
Well, interesting.
Completely gone.
Interesting you said that because my wife, I asked her what she thought after she saw the movie. She's
Hmm.
only seen the first part. She fell asleep on the David Lynch 50 times, so she never saw
Hmm.
it. She's like, it was fine, but I wasn't really interested in the story, which was interesting.
Wow.
And then I thought
Okay.
about it and I'm like, well, yeah, I mean, I loved it because I'm seeing come to life a book I love, characters I know. I'm seeing
Yeah.
what's different that I like, seeing what I don't
Hmm.
like Still Girl the
Right.
Clown.
Right.
Um,
Couldn't disagree more.
but you know, I love the acting. I just thought he went from being this like leader, serious thing in the first one to like being the comic relief silliness thing. I mean, it was funny, but it was too much. Anyway, so I don't have an unbiased opinion here about the story, but like she didn't care that he wanted revenge, and she wasn't like rooting for him to it just wasn't enough for her. It was well
Okay.
done, it was well made, it was interesting,
Hmm.
but she's not like, oh God, this story was so impactful to me or anything.
Okay. Two things real quick. Number one, as much as I dislike, well, the irony, I think Lynch is one of our best contemporary filmmakers right now. I do not like his version of Dune. I will concede that it that Denis Villeneuve's vision, uh, I don't think it lacks ambition. It's very ambitious. It does not have the art direction and ambition, the visual ambition of Lynch's Dune. I'm totally gonna give you that. That
Winner, winner.
that film, admittedly,
Hmm.
Lynch's film looks fantastic. I know people complain about the optical effects in the end. Screw you. I love optical effects.
Yeah.
They are great. I understand why the optical effects are that way. It was produced by Dino De Laurentiis, and if you've seen any other Dino films, all of the opticals look like that. It's not so much a Lynch's signature, that's Dino's signature. He must have had some control over which effects house that they were going to use for for Lynch's version of Dune so that they could save money or something like that. I love how the opticals look. Second thing,
Mm,
um,
senior moment.
what
He's lost everybody.
I am. I really am.
You want me to
Why?
save you?
No, I've got it. One thing that Dawn and I have had an argument about for God, I think over a year now since it was announced. This was Dawn's point that he kept hammering over and over and over again, basically prejudging the movie in advance I was going to be a failure. So now I want to know how you really, now that you've seen the film, how you really felt about Christopher Walken.
Oh, yes, absolutely. Because I was very, very sus on him and the casting. I didn't think the movie was going to be bad. I was just doing that to give you a hard time. Christopher Walken, I thought was an awful choice beforehand
Still,
and
yes.
still. Now, I don't know if it's because of him or because he didn't have much to do. I felt like the Emperor in Lynch's version
Mhm.
was more interesting and more realistic. And like the Emperor, like that was again one of like maybe the production design or the ambition here. The Emperor's planet, what did that look like? What does the court look like? They were just like outside some house whenever we saw the Emperor. It felt
Yeah.
very powerless. There's no world there. I'm like, feels like a few simple exteriors or a
Yeah.
planet or something could have
Right.
added a lot in a few spots, which is my critique of like a lot of J.J. Abrams films and things like that. Like the scale and the scope and the danger and the just all of this didn't make sense. Wasn't there. So, he didn't have much to do. He didn't have much to say, and he seemed
Hmm.
powerless to begin with,
Okay.
which I don't think he is in the book. He seemed like, I don't know, and he sounded like Christopher Walken. It's hard for him not to sound like him.
So
What did
my
you think?
favorite film critic, Mark Commode, loved the film, but he came down really hard on Walken.
Oh, did he?
Yes, he was like Walken was doing his Walken thing, and this was not the movie for that.
Exactly.
He was doing his insider winky, I'm going to pause in the middle of this sentence for no reason and then accentuate the next word, which is not a word to be accentuated, and then finish the sentence.
He wasn't
I
royal. He
don't,
wasn't.
I don't completely agree with that, but I have to admit, as much as I love Walken,
Are you agreeing with
it
me?
I'm kind of agreeing with you. Yeah. I mean, I listen,
Winter Dawn.
I like the performance because he I don't know if he's supposed to be, but he looked tired.
He did. Like, it was
And
an interesting choice. I think it was the wrong
yeah.
choice, whether it was. He
Now
didn't
who would have
look
been a good choice?
Hergen Prochnow from the first movie, the original movie.
Well, I'm not, is he,
No, no,
I'm
not
dead
Hergen
serious.
Prochnow. I'm sorry. That
Is
was
he
sorry.
still alive?
That was Leto Atreides. I'm sorry. That was Leto Atreides. I don't remember the actor's name for
Well,
the Emperor. But it
but
didn't feel like a royal. It didn't feel like someone with power who was used to the trappings of office, who all this stuff. It was like this
right.
poor schlub in his garden. I mean, Erlin was okay. She was fine, but like,
Was that Florence Pugh?
yeah,
Yeah.
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 Um, you know, it's felt so unroyal, so small. And it was a
Yeah.
weird choice too to have Paul be the one to send a letter to him to have him come and meet with him on Arrakis at the end.
But doesn't that fit with the film? That
No, see,
Viennese visual. Hold on,
yeah.
not the book. I'm talking
Mm.
about the overall aesthetic with like the film is a war between minimalism and maximalism, and there's stuff that's very minimal. And then I got to say, Don, seeing it in full IMAX,
Yeah.
then there's stuff that's massive and filling the screen
I gotta tell you,
85 feet
I
tall.
sat there at a great seat and I'm like, "Ah, I wish I was watching this movie on my Vision Pro because it's so much cooler
Oh,
watching it
that
on
would
a
have
headset.
been
I can't
amazing.
wait to see it on
That
that
would
way
have
because
been
that's better
amazing.
than going to any movie theaters. I plug for Apple, but
Well,
like watching it that way is amazing. You got to come see
I,
it.
I disagree. It's not going to be as great as seeing it at Jordan's. It's
Uh,
just not.
uh,
It's not.
Oh, you
It's
get.
not
Oh, it's
the
amazing.
the resol.
Um,
I
how big the screen is, you get.
yeah,
Oh, anyway, let's
and I
not
hope they
get into Apple.
release it in actual full IMAX on the Vision Pro because Dune 2 is all the 4K
Yeah,
UHD Blu-ray is already up for pre-order,
yeah.
and you can only get the scope version,
Oh,
just like
interesting.
the first. And I'm
Yeah.
so I'm guessing that when Denis done the trilogy, there will be a box set, and you'll actually be able to get the IMAX versions.
Interesting. Well, there's a
Um,
bunch of for the Vision. There's a bunch of IMAX ones
yeah,
available
there's an
specifically.
actual IMAX app,
Yeah,
so
yeah, and you can like
hopefully,
through Disney, you can see the IMAX those some of those films
right.
IMAX version. Um, so I understand that, but again, in the David Lynch movie in the book, the
Mhm.
reason that the Emperor comes to Arrakis is because the Barons failed. Fade
Yep.
Rautha is failing,
Hmm.
at this, and the Emperor comes for business, being like, "I'm gonna get the in order."
Right.
And
Right.
here he's like, "I've been summoned here. I'm gonna talk to this guy."
Right.
So it's like less of a presence of a thing. And part of the great houses is that
I'll
they are.
agree.
You don't agree?
No, I said
Oh,
I'll agree.
oh, you agree.
Hmm.
Um,
God, will you stop that?
Don-
God
and the
damn.
great houses being there, like the emperor brings great houses there, but the
Right.
great houses are so dependent on spice that Paul goes, "I will blow up with the atomics the spice, and you will all be trapped in your planets." And so that's how he becomes emperor.
Right.
Yes, there's jihad that happens going forward,
Hmm.
but I just feel like that was like, that's too bad. That's not there. I didn't need in the book. Paul and Chani have a son who gets killed in the battle, a little one.
Right.
I didn't need that. We didn't need Alia, a weird toddler walking around like she's the one who kills the Baron, like in the movie you've seen.
Hmm.
Um, like so there were things that he skipped, which I get, but the sort of pillars of the society of Dune is number one thing that I feel like was missing, and number two, the sort of psychedelic prescience and seeing the future and all that. That
Hmm.
was it was such a light touch in this film. And again, I love this movie. I can't wait to see it again.
Right.
But again, it was a really, really awesome movie for everyone, and it was a good, interesting adaptation. But I don't think it's the best Dune movie that could have been, and it's very small point there
Okay.
because Dune is
So
so rich.
this is not an insulting question. It's a genuine question. It is something that I've been pointing out to you time and time again. Do and it's okay to admit, Don, I have this about a lot of films. Do you, because of your love for the book,
Yes.
because of how it's not just your love of Lynch's Dune,
Mm,
but how influential that movie is for you
yes.
you saw it during formative years.
Yes.
You probably looked at that movie and said, I didn't even know you could do that with a
Yes.
movie. Like this blew my mind open. Do you lack objectivity
I said I lacked
when,
objectivity. I
yeah,
absolutely do. I lacked objectivity, but you just think about how much better it could be, and I don't think that's wrong. Even though I don't
mhm,
have that objectivity,
mhm,
that there's material there to draw from that could have
right.
made it better.
Could it have, could the addition of that material made the film too dense? Because in my
Sure,
opinion,
that's
having
why I
not
think the
read the
Lynch
book,
one,
it is dense.
it's not at all.
Yeah,
Like
but the
that's why I'm
Lynch
so impressed
version.
with the Lynch version because there's so much crammed in there.
Right. Well, that's the problem with the Lynch version. Crammed in. The last half an hour is like a Christopher Nolan exposition dump on steroids. Like it's that last half. Dawn, give me the last half an hour. That last half an hour is ridiculous. It goes through like 90 books in 20 minutes. It's ridiculous. Dawn, give it to me.
I disagree. I
Oh,
disagree. I disagree. I disagree. I disagree. And I think the fact that he's uninterested and unwilling to do any book
hmm.
adaptation after Dune Messiah
Hmm.
shows that he played it too safe.
Okay.
Because Trevor, I'm going to ruin some things for you right now because you may
I,
or not get these.
I don't think.
Who is the main
Yeah.
character of the Dune series? Who would you think
Of the
is?
Dune series,
Yes,
Paul's sister.
incorrect.
Okay.
The main
Who's
character of this whole set of books,
mhm.
Duncan, Idaho.
Okay, interesting. Because my friend Brian, who we're going to have on the show soon,
Mm,
Don and Brian met at a screening of Lynch's Dune at the Brattle Theater in Cambridge last year. and they're both massive fans of the book and massive fans of Lynch's Dune. I honestly thought Don was going to cheat on his wife that night with my friend Brian. They fell in love so quickly with each other, and it was quite a sight to behold.
Wow.
One thing that I believe it was Brian that mentioned he absolutely loved Dune Part Two, the movie, loved it.
I
He's
loved it
already
too.
seen it.
Yeah.
He's already seen it a few times, and I believe it was him that said, "But I miss Duncan."
Interesting.
So is that, and I got to be honest, I missed Duncan
You didn't remember
as
who he
well.
was.
I remember Momoa.
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, he dies. He
I
dies in the book. He just comes back later on in other books.
right.
Which is like, how is that even set up in these movies? It's not.
I well, I wouldn't be surprised if Denis and his writers maybe don't bring
Oh,
him
they're not going to bring him
back.
back for Doom Messiah. He comes back children. God Emperor is a great book. It's crazy. I don't know if you know this, but God Emperor of Dune is a massive work. The whole book centers around Paul's son, who lives for 10,000 years, I think, and is a giant sandworm and that talks.
Well,
And he's like,
I've
there's no
heard
way I'm going to make this, but it would be fascinating to try.
I've heard it the books, according to my friend Brian, like they get crazier and crazier
Oh,
and
they do.
crazier because Frank just
Frank Herbert, the writer.
yeah
Yeah.
went
Too many mushrooms.
yeah
But I got to tell you, God Emperor of Dune, it's a very interesting book. It's dense, it's political, it's good. Can you bring a giant talking sandworm who has a love interest to life?
right.
You know, that's a challenge. But, again, the fact that he said it shows that he was playing it safe the whole time. And yes, the fight scene with the infrared and black and white, very cool. Very
Right.
cool. But that doesn't mean it wasn't safe.
Right.
And so much of Dune is the politics. Like he added in with the
Okay.
Ferring or whatever. What's her name? Fenring, the Countess Fenring. She was a
Was that
Bene
Leia?
Gesserit,
Was that Leia Sadu?
I believe. Is that her
Yeah,
name?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I believe it.
They cut out her husband, the Count. Both Lynch and Villeneuve. I can't say his name. Did I say it right?
Denis Villeneuve.
Yeah, both versions, they cut out this great scene in the first part, or would have been the first movie, where there's a dinner with the water traders and the smugglers and Paul's father that really gets into the whole political stuff. So again, the political side of things, the structural things for the society, and all the different worlds were just kind of missing. And it seemed small, it seemed small for such a big looking film in a way. The galaxy seems small. There was nothing mystical and magical. There was no guild there, really. There was no like, oh, this is the mysteries of traveling through space. There's so much that could have been peppered in even.
So I initially heard, I initially read and heard by people who saw this film before I did, and I initially rolled my eyes when I first heard this. But there are a lot of comparisons to David Lean and Lawrence of Arabia. Have you ever seen Lawrence of Arabia?
Of course.
Okay, so Lawrence of Arabia,
That's
just
when.
real quick.
Wait, is that when the guy is on the
Just
planet
shut up
near
and let me
Romulus and he's coming in for the water hole? I'm doing a
just shut
Star
up
Trek
and let
5
me-
bit. It's a Star Trek 5 bit. All right, never mind. Go
Shut
ahead.
up and let me make my point. It has a massive visual scope,
Yes.
and story wise, it has the intimacy of a character drama. Now, when I saw Dune Part Two, I was like, yes, this is very David Lean. This is kind of Lawrence of Arabia. That it had a massive scope versus an intimacy with the characters. And it sounds like that bothered you a bit.
The intimacy is fine. Actually, there was like, I was reading one thing that mentioned like in the books, when Gurney comes back after being a smuggler, he's so suspicious of Jessica because he thinks she was the traitor. They didn't know who the traitor was.
Right.
So he thinks it's her. He tries to assassinate Jessica, is stopped. Paul explains what's going on, and then he becomes indebted to Paul again, essentially. but he
Right.
thinks he's avenging it. So like there were little moments that could have still been there,
Right.
having those intimate moments. So it's not that. I just think there was no reason to leave out certain things.
So I got one more question for you, and then
Yeah.
I just want to move into Dune Part Two exclusively. And if we can just leave the book and Lynch out of it.
Yes, sir.
We've made a lot of comparisons. Um, and I'm sorry this is a spoiler. We should probably put a spoiler warning at the beginning of this
I would
episode.
think so. Spoilers.
But spoilers. So this is a question for you.
Yes, sir.
Anya Taylor-Joy or Alicia Witt?
Alicia Witt. 100%. We're talking about the actress who played Alia. Are you saying,
Don,
wait, Alicia
Don,
Witt as a child or as a
Don,
grown up?
I want you to ask me the same question.
Alicia Witt or Anya, whatever, Joy Taylor, whatever her name is. Queen's Gambit.
Alicia Witt.
Do we agree on something?
Yes. And that's because I am ride or die for Alicia Witt.
Yeah.
An unbelievable talent.
Yeah.
Local person. She's from here.
Now we're comparing
As,
someone who was like a 5-year-old versus
yes,
a 25-year-old. But in terms of
I think
place in the film,
I would have liked to see. Listen, I love Anya Taylor-Joy. She's a very, very talented actor. I saw her.
I did like The Menu, by the way. That's a fun movie.
Menu's great.
I love it.
And I'm looking forward to her Furiosa film. Though I just wish they brought Charlize back. But I don't know how they do it, but I wish
no interest.
You're an idiot. I would have liked to have seen that character in Dune 2 portrayed as younger.
Because she's crazy and weird. And like, you know, not gonna talk about the book, but in the book, Jamas's wife keeps her safe. There's no Jamas wife in this, which is interesting. You know, it's a weird character who's like really intense and creeps out the Fremen. And so, you know, he chose to have
and because
Jessica
because she's 5 years old in the Lynch version, and she reads her lines like a 5-year-old, she does come across as
it's creepy. Yeah,
creepy.
in which she is. And she's creepy her whole life, her whole existence. In the Dune novels, she's creepy and knows too much and all that stuff. And again, that sort of connection, like, you know, like Jessica drinks the water of life. You know, it's sort of hinted at that the old Reverend Mother dies at the same time letting her live, but it's not like Jessica was supposed to die from that.
Right.
But the Reverend Mother kept her alive. Like, it's just these small little choices that I don't think were necessary to skip over.
Right.
You know?
So, okay.
Dune Part 3, what's going to happen?
Let's just get to Dune 2. Let me say my piece about the film. I got a couple things to say.
I'll sit here.
Number one, I have never seen the movie Elvis, and I never will. I am not. Will you cut the crap? Put the book down.
Oh, this is such a good book. Have you read it? It's Dune.
Yeah, shut up. I hate you.
You've never seen Elvis?
And I've only seen 2 performances by Austin Butler. Number one was in Tarantino's Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, which he is excellent. And number 2, Dune Part 2, which he is phenomenal.
Amazing.
In this film.
What a knife fight too. Oh, yeah.
Incredible. What I wrote a post on Facebook because I'm old, and I wrote about how this guy has single-handedly cornered the market on villains that are just filled with tired tropes. And you've seen this a million times, but somehow I really believe, both in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood and that this guy is rotten.
Yeah.
That you feel the rot. That's why I use the word rot. You can just feel the rot inside of him. And he is, God, he's so good in this film. It's a great performance. Number 2.
What about Wonka? How do you like Wonka?
Hey man, I went into Wonka with an open mind.
Oh, that movie. No, I meant like the actor. Was his name Tim Wonka?
Chalamet? Stop it, Don. Stop it.
We don't have this kind of time.
Number 2, my heart broke for Zendaya in this film.
She did a great job.
My heart was was
I said
broken.
part one, she had nothing to do, and she was there for like a day of filming or whatever it was,
Right.
and was a waste of space in that movie. I thought she did a great job. It was an interesting addition to the lore here, how they had her storm off, and it was great.
Now, number three.
Yes,
This is going to be long-winded, but I actually think you'll be interested in what I have to say.
you've got 5 minutes.
This is where I lack objectivity with the film. I I'm going to get very personal here. I was raised by fundamentalist extremists,
Mhm.
and it was very damaging, and it it resulted in a lot of trauma for myself and my sisters. This film spoke to me on such a personal level. I I took it, I was so moved by this message of, you know, prophecies versus just plain old common sense, and how Paul is destined to be this leader for now, but is going to end up maybe being their destruction in the end. I was so moved by this. I mean, I can't. I have thought about it non-stop, and it that really, really spoke to me because I can't listen. For our listeners, I listen. I am not criticizing you, how you were brought up, what you believe in. I am just saying for me, and I'm not going to go into specific examples, that how I was raised in a very, very similar situation, and it was so damaging to my siblings and I.
Mm.
And it was an absolutely horrible experience. I could not believe this message was being said on such a
W-
big scale movie. I can't believe this film is doing as I don't hear a lot of controversy around this message,
I
which
don't
is
think people get
mind
it though,
blowing.
Trevor. Here's the thing. I think half the audiences who love it didn't get it. They think Paul's the hero. They're like, yeah, he won.
Well,
That's it.
that
And I think that was a mistake of the film a little bit that could have
mhm.
been more fleshed out here. And again, it's a long movie. There's a lot to do, but that could have been fleshed out more that he could be, it's sort of sad if you know it's there, but I think a lot of people missed it.
Right. Okay. Okay. 2 points real quick. My friend Brian said the same thing. He was so frustrated because he's like, so many people I know who have seen it have come up to me and complained that they're like, oh my God, Paul's another white savior. Why are we see? And he's like, did you completely miss the point of that film? Because clearly they did it. He is not a savior of anything, right? I mean,
Yeah.
maybe for that moment, but it is very clear in that film that what the incredible damage that Paul is going to bring in the future. Now, my last point.
They should have shown it. They have Stilgar the clown, jumping on a ship and then going off to, like attack.
Right.
But they could have really pressed on that
So
damage that's coming.
I know we got to wrap up. My last question for you, as we're going to go back to the books as a book reader. Uh, um, you said to me that a few months ago, I remember it perfectly. You said, "There's no way Villeneuve is going to do Dune Messiah. No way.
God, no, no,
There's
God
no
Emperor,
way.
God Emperor.
No, no. You said Dune Messiah, Don.
Play the tape. I never heard that.
I said not on the show.
Because
You
there's Dune
know,
Messiah, then there's Children of Dune, which, by the way,
okay,
I have a soft spot for the sci-fi version of Children
right.
of Dune. You should watch that.
Let's stop the argument. I have a genuine question.
Yes, sir.
Was Dune Part Two Dune Messiah? Was it kind of Dune Messiah? Is it setting up
Dune
Dune
Messiah.
Messiah?
Dune Messiah was
Like,
originally
'cause-
written as the end of the Dune the book, but it's long enough to be a shorter book.
so
Um,
does it
Dune,
does it
Dune,
look like the third film is going to be Dune Messiah?
That's my understanding that eventually
Yeah.
he's going to do it. In the book, I think it's been a while,
Well,
but it's been years.
Villeneuve only said he's doing 3 films,
Three,
and
that's
he's
it.
out.
Right, because
Yeah.
the children, I think he's afraid to do Children of Dune. It has to do with like Leto, Paul's son,
Hmm.
starting to turn into
Hmm.
a sandworm in a way,
Yeah.
and dealing with the more mystical stuff of like the golden path and like what the future is for humankind and
Hmm.
getting people to survive 10,000 years in the future and so on. So I think he wants to avoid that and do a more traditional story, which this is in a way.
Right.
So Dune Messiah it'll be interesting because it's less of an easy story in that it's a bad guy and overcoming. It's all about like the failures of Paul and what Paul is afraid to do. Paul, I'm spoiling the book,
Hmm.
goes off into the desert to die blind because he's afraid to do what his son will eventually do and become that
Hmm.
sandworm.
Right.
And he needed to become a sandworm and rule
Right.
for 10,000 years
Hmm.
to guide mankind viciously to make them survive
Hmm.
a dark future down the road.
Hmm.
Paul just can't bring himself to do it.
Hmm.
Essentially, that's the book.
Hmm.
And he has twins. So, and it's all about the forces that are trying to bring Paul down.
Hmm.
Those forces are not even hinted at in these movies. So I have no idea what he's going to do for this movie. I'm sure it'll
Hmm.
be great. I'm sure it'll be great, but I have no
Don.
idea.
Don.
Yeah.
Don.
Yes.
Guess what time it is?
Time to leave.
It's time for Trevor's Tangent. Okay, this one's going to be really, really, really fast.
Featuring
Everybody,
Stilgar the Clown.
I could not recommend more. This is Denis Villeneuve's masterpiece. I've been a fan of this guy since the beginning, but I highly, highly, highly recommend you seek out
Arrival?
a film called Sicario,
Oh.
his masterpiece. Gorgeously shot by Roger Deakins, one of our greatest cinematographers ever. Sicario, the brilliance of Sicario is that it's about the truth of banging your head against a brick wall, thinking that you're going to break through, and the reality of life is that you're not going to break through. And then the other thing, absolutely brilliant, is that you think that it's a socio-political commentary on our border issues and our law enforcement issues between America and the cartels in Mexico, until it's not, until it plays its hand and shows you what it's really about. And it blew my mind. I watch it all the time. It's a masterpiece. Denis Villeneuve, Sicario.
Wait.
Please seek it out. It
Is that when
brilliant.
the main character wakes up next to Bob Newhart?
You ruin everything. And that's the end of Trevor's Tangent.
Oh, it's Trevor.
Mm.
Al Gaib. Come on, it was a little bit much. It was. I mean, that's what all the memes online are with him. Like Paul like sneezes.
Oh,
the prophecy.
The
You
Dune
know?
2, the Dune 2 memes are amazing. I would have never thought that Dune 2 memes would be great. They are incredible.
Keep it up, everybody. Keep up the hard work.
They are incredible. You're all doing a wonderful job. Amazing. I'm seeing a bunch every day. They keep getting smarter and smarter. They're so good.
Well, I think Trevor, we should go see the movie. We should go see the movie together. Maybe we should bring a little recorder and interview some people and see what they think. You know. Oh, can I just tell you before we go here, as we're wrapping up here, I heard that Sting was offered a little cameo in this movie and he turned it down.
Is
I'm
that
so
true?
upset. Yeah, I read that or heard that somewhere.
Really?
Would have been amazing.
I would have liked that, to be honest.
Absolutely.
I know that's a little inside baseball, and I know Denis is more disciplined than that. He doesn't
he
like
cast
the
Christopher
meta
Walken. Come on.
Yeah, but I don't
I'm
think
the
that was
emperor.
I don't think that was a meta. I meant discipline in terms of
Yes.
meta.
Yeah,
stuff like
sure.
that.
References to the audience. Yeah.
But then again, you're saying that he was offered a role and and he didn't take it. Is that?
I think it was like a
is
little
that-
cameo or something. Who knows?
No,
Yeah.
that's too bad.
Yeah.
That's too bad.
bad.
I would have loved to have seen it.
All right. Well, that does it.
Do you have
for
any last thoughts?
last thoughts? We should come back to this conversation because I could talk about Dune forever. No, then that is the year 10,191. The known universe is ruled by the Padishah Emperor Shaddam IV. My father, in this time, the most precious substance is a spice melange. I could do the whole David Lynch movie growing up, all 3 hours. right
need
from
to get a life.
Knocker.
Okay, so I agree with you. When we go see it, we should bring a recorder. However, I don't think we should interview people because I hate people.
You do hate people.
I think we should record
Ourselves.
ourselves
Oh my
fighting
God. During
right
the
at
show? We got to see like a 9 a.m. show.
like right when the credits hit.
No,
You wanna
during
fight
the
during the
movie.
show?
Let's watch like an 8 a.m. screening somewhere or something. Just talk.
Actually, Don, I mean, I'm not saying this as a brag, but I can get us a private screening if you want.
Let's do it. We're at the Brattle.
Okay. I'm going to
Let's
talk.
do it.
No.
Oh.
I will talk. I'll
get my camera crew. We'll do a whole 3 camera shoot. Let's do it.
I will ask around.
That would be amazing. We could do it.
Yes.
We need no win scenario. We don't have fans. What are our fans' names? No winners, non-winners, scenarios. I don't know. We need names for our fans. Our listeners.
I think we should call them winners if we want to have more fans.
Winners. All right, winners.
I think we should do that.
Stay tuned for that. And our next episode with author Derek Tyler Attico is coming out real soon. So stay tuned. Email us at nowinscenariopodcast@gmail.com and subscribe everywhere, Trevor.
Subscribe everywhere.
Everywhere.
And I just want to note for the audience, we mostly agreed here.
We did, but let's be honest, you agreed with me. And with that, thanks for listening.
I'm going to quit this podcast. I'm going to quit. I hate it. I hate this podcast.
I've won, everyone. I've won. Take care.
Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye. In today's world, mental health is everyone's concern. If you or someone you know is in crisis, please use these resources. For U.S. listeners, call 1-800-950-6264 or text Helpline, all one word, HELPLINE, to 62640 or email helpline@NAMI.org. That's NAMI.org. For our international listeners, please visit suicidestop.com. That's SUICIDESTOP.com.